well, there we go. Cody, thank you so much for coming on Make America Civil again and having a conversation with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So, um, Cody, tell us a little bit about yourself, like who you are, maybe what you do, how old you are, whatever. Just let us know a little bit about who you are.
Alrighty. I'm Cody. I'm from Utah. I've kind of lived in Utah County. That's just kind of where I'm at. I've lived here forever. I was born in from American Fork. I was born there, but then I went down to Spanish Fork. So that's quite, it's kind of funny to me how we just moved down from American Fork to Spanish Fork. Yeah, I've lived here my whole life. I've been kind of grown up in a LDS family, also known as Mormons. That's just kind of how
Okay.
I've grown up or also known as Latter-day Saints. That's just how that's what we call it here. So I kind of grew up in that kind of culture. Um, what I do is I have two jobs. Um, I work for a tech support line, which I kind of help people over the phone. I'm the guy who yell at if you have internet problems or cable problems. I'm the guy who yell at. I also set up like fiber appointments, and fiber is just a high-speed internet wire. That's just kind of like the best way to explain it without getting into all the details all about it. But then I have another job where just a side thing. I just do a little bit of cleaning for a school district building. It's called the district office. I work in the printing room. I don't know. I just clean there just to get extra money. And so that's just what I'm doing right now. I'm not going to school or anything like right now. I'm just, working and just kind of doing my own thing. I'm just trying to save money right now towards maybe moving out someday. And that's just what I'm doing at the moment. And yeah, that's about it. I guess you could say, I'm pretty libertarian. I'm not like an anarcho-capitalist or
Okay.
anything extreme like that. I used to think I was, like, I thought that was like a good idea. And I looked into it and like, oh, it sounds great, but I'm not like that. I'm more of I guess you could say, classical liberal than to a minarchist kind of general area. I would say I kind of more aligned with the minarchist side, but that's kind of where I stand. And I was I guess, a former kind of conservative. I'm not saying like conservatism is like a bad idea. I just kind of grew from it. I'm not like, and I kind of realized some things were a little iffy about it, but for the most part, it's a decent idea. I don't agree with a lot and like as much as I used to, and I kind of realized um, some things I didn't like about it and like the group of people. But I mean, some of their ideas are pretty good. I could agree with that, but there's a bunch of other things where I don't agree on with them. So that's kind of why I left, and I've been all around the political spectrum on the right side. Really, I've never really um, leaned towards left. Most left wing I've ever gone was probably a anarcho-individualist, which is on the bottom. It's on the right, but it's on the left. It's like in the middle on the libertarian right, or I mean libertarian quadrant. Sorry, excuse me. Um, so yeah, but for the most part, I'm the guy who can't make up his own mind. Sometimes that's
Yeah.
what people call me. It's like, can't you just make up your own mind? Just stay in one spot. Geez, you know.
Yeah. So that's interesting because I guess we could talk about conservatism a little later and kind of your issues with that.
Hmm.
Because that's probably how I'd pin myself more so than anything. So I definitely say I'm a libertarian, but definitely more a conservative libertarian. But first, tell me what exactly is, because you said a minarchist. What exactly is that?
So it's not a very well-known ideology. That's why a lot of people don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Of course, a lot of people know what Republicans and Democrats are, and that's just what a lot of people just know. It's only those two, but there's actually a lot of more philosophies, and I just end up on kind of like the more minarchist side. And to answer that question, minarchism is basically where a lot of thing is kind of privatized and individualism, a lot of that. Um, the only things with government would be like police, courts, I maybe a fire department. I mean, you could privatize a fire department, but if you want to look it up, it would say like fire departments would be under the government, and just EMS, just kind of like the basic essential needs is what a government should do. But that's just what we believe. It's just that's the only things that provide for the people. Everything else should be mostly privatized, and the government should stay out of people's lives. And also a military. We also need a military, and it's going to be voluntarily donated. So we don't believe in taxation, because the good old classic, taxation's theft kind of thing that libertarians say all the time. So yeah, that's kind of where we think it, but we don't get along, or we don't necessarily agree with anarcho-capitalism. That's kind of where we disagree on, or we don't line up at all. That's why, I don't know, I got into a debate today, or earlier today, from this volunteer anarchist guy calling me like a statist, because I don't know, I just don't think it's a good idea to have a privatized police force. I mean, I get it. I mean, maybe you could do a lot better than what we have now, but I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. Because you could have a competing police force, which, I mean, sounds good. They would do good to protect people, but what about the ones that are they have a different variation of the non-aggression principle or the NAP? I'd say I don't know, what if this police force thinks that owning a gun or something like that is against other people's NAPs because that puts people in danger or something like that? Or, that's like a far left perspective, like a police group or what department or whatever you want to call it. And then maybe one more the radical right or authoritarian right, or, whatever, that thinks that, being a atheist or something like that, maybe an extreme Christian group, I'm not sure, being this way is putting other people's beliefs in dangers, and it's ruining society, so we better go jail them up because that's violating their non-aggression principle. I mean, I know that kind of sounds stupid. I could get flagged for that, but that's just kind of how I see it.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not at all in favor of anarchism. I'm not prone to it, but it is like one of those things that's, I don't know, they always claim it's never been tried, so why not just try it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. When I think, I mean, I guess it depends on your anthropology, like what you view man as. Like, is man by nature like good? Do you think we'll always make the morally right decision? Which that does come from the more like individualism, rationality, like Ayn Rand type of ideology. But they're not anarchists either. But I guess my point is like, I guess it's um, like we can get down to like the minutia of it all. But like when it comes down to like like uh like minarchists would say that a government is, would you agree with like libertarians or even more like paleo conservatives with like libertarianism, would they would say it is a necessary evil, like government's like necessary, we don't want it but we find it to be a necessary thing to have, at least like in the smallest form possible.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's one that people always ask libertarians on, or anarchists, or that kind of just group of people. I mean, it's, for the most time in the current, or a lot of the times, government does do a lot of bad. They force people to give up their money for the good,
Yeah.
for the good of society. And if you don't donate or you don't give up your tax money, you get thrown in a cage. That's one thing. Sometimes for the, we don't, well, not everybody, not every libertarian. Some do, some don't. That's one's kind of a divisive situation. But of not supporting foreign wars, we don't want to pay for, our troops to go blow up this country and cause more issues.
Yeah.
We don't like to support governments that start wars or anything like that. We don't want to support, or yeah, we don't want to support a police force that, treads on our rights and, regulates us and makes us pay fines and taxes and fees and all stuff like that. And we don't want to, you know, pay for it. So, I mean, those are the bad sides of government. And there's a lot of corruption. Everybody knows that on the left and the right. Everybody knows there's corruption for sure.
At least you would hope they do.
Yeah. But then, I mean, there's some good. I mean, this one's, I know it's a divisive thing for me. It can be good. Governments can do good, but the thing is, they're still taking our tax money, which is still bad. But I mean, that's what the anarchists will debate you on is,
Yeah.
like, it's still good, but it's still theft. I mean, they're right, it's still theft, but let's like the things that they do good for, like, a fire department, they provide a service, EMS provides a service. What else? I mean, I guess you could say schools do, like public
Mm.
funded schools.
Hmm.
Um, but I prefer if schools are private and all the, like, the police and courts and fire department, EMS, and all that kind of stuff, and the military, all that kind of being voluntarily funded. That's just kind of what a lot of libertarians, or that's just what libertarians believe. That everything should just be voluntarily funded instead of being stolen from us. That's just kind of like the bad part of, governments. There's just a lot of corruption and theft and just a whole lot of bad things. I can only lift like those few things that governments can do good on, but for the most part, I don't think it's. I mean, it's a necessary. I guess you could say it's a necessary evil, but I just think um, it could. I don't know. We could do a lot better. We could definitely fix it. Either probably through votes, or if like votes don't work, it's gonna have to be, and it I mean, depends on how it goes, of course, but you know if votes aren't working and we're still, our rights are still being trampled over, our money still being stolen and all stuff like that, then what the founding fathers did, they stood up to it and protested it, and ended up fighting its own government that ruled over them, you know
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So clearly there's like not much of a difference, but there seems to be somewhat of a difference between like minarchism and anarchism, even though you keep talking about taxes and stuff. Um, so taxation is theft. So
Hmm.
then how like obviously there's some taxes you would get rid of naturally. Like, do
Uh-huh.
you know like which tax you would want to see like held onto? Like, is there a specific type of tax where you would say like, yeah, this is bad, but there's other ones that are a lot worse. Like example, like in 1913 was when they first instituted the income tax,
Hmm.
and it was only at 1%. Now in some states it's a lot higher, and in some tax brackets it's even higher. But it was usually it started out as a flat tax of 1% for everyone, and then that got out of control. So I mean, like here in my state, I don't know what it's like in Utah. I think it's fairly conservative as far as the tax code goes.
Hmm.
But like we don't have a state tax here in Nevada, which is nice. But like, are there any taxes you would say like, yeah, this one sucks, but it's not as bad as like a
The other
sales
ones.
tax? Yeah.
Yeah. I guess sales tax aren't isn't a bad idea because, I mean, it's funded, but the problem with sales tax is probably, like, the government could raise that, and that could cost a lot more money than what you're
Inflation.
actually
Yeah.
paying for. So I guess I would probably say, I guess, a sales tax because it's voluntarily funded in a way. Somebody could debate me on that and probably prove me wrong or something like that. I don't know. There's probably going to be someone out there who's going to be like, "Oh, he's just an idiot. Oh, he's just contradicting himself like crazy."
Yeah. No, I don't know that's a tough one because I would say that's more of a preference at that point, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
but
like I
for
don't know if there's a right or wrong answer because taxes is taxes, so that's a tough one.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
yeah, what I would like to see, just everything voluntarily funded. I think
yeah,
that'd
that
be
would be
work a lot
nice.
better because, I mean, it could be good, but also could be bad. Like, let's say we just fund our fire department, for an example. Those guys are
Yeah.
good. Um, instead of them giving, I think Utah is a 40% tax, I think. I'm not sure. I think that's what it is. But maybe we could donate, more or less, to provide a good fire department. It could be a lot good or a lot better. It could also be a lot worse because it could work like a free market. You
Yeah.
could just pay for the services that you want, and if you like it, you can pay for it more. Me personally, I would, fund a fire department voluntarily easy, and like roads and a police department if they're doing well, and EMS for sure. I don't know. I
Yeah.
definitely do that.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference is the whole voluntary exchange. But you didn't mention before, like before when we talked before, you mentioned that you used to be a Trump supporter,
hmm
but now you're not. So like, why were you before, and what changed?
So you know how it all started out in like 2016. Like, oh, cool. I don't know. I was in high school. It's 2016, and you're seeing all these like really cringy videos of all those crazy liberals crying and screaming and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, I'll just wear a hat, just to piss people off. But I don't know. I didn't really have like a super belief, like strong belief. LDS family. Um, we like guns and conservative family. We're just kind of like that. Big gun loving family, God loving family, all kind of stuff like that. But I didn't like know all this like super political stuff. I was 16. All I cared was just hanging out with my friends and doing whatever. And then I kind of saw these videos of like all these crazy liberals just crying and about whatever. It's like, oh, that's funny. Maybe I'll just wear one just to make people mad. And then I kind of start doing that. And then I kind of wear it to school a couple times. This is true. This happens a lot. But this could happen to anybody who wears any kind of political gear or anything like that. They get sworn at. I've been sworn at for sure, flipped off. I got my hat knocked off in a school library when I was 16. He just came up and smacked me in the head and asked for a lighter to burn it. And I was like, dude, what the heck? So then that next year, the junior year, I still am, for the most part, through my whole high school life. I've been kind of a solid conservative my whole way. Trump supporter, back the blue. What else? Big, guns. Follow the law kind of guy. Just kind of like that basic kind of neo-conservative / conservative
Okay.
kind of guy. But again, I wasn't super, political at the time. And then I got into like look into more like kind of political accounts. I kind of just started taking like just patriotic photography, just the American flag and flags, because I like flags. I have a lot of them. They're kind of everywhere in my
Yeah.
room. I like to collect them, and I don't know. I just kind of like taking pictures of them, putting like a cool quote or something like that. But while I was doing that, people kind of saw my page grow, and I was like, oh, people are liking my pictures. This is kind of cool. I'm getting a following. And I'm putting like a Trump flag out there. It's like one of my first photos on my Instagram page, and it's still there. And I think I'll just keep it there because that's kind of where I started, and that's fine. But then I started looking more. Then I saw people like slightly offensive, Flecka's, Ben Shapiro, Milo Yiannopoulos, Gavin McInnes, like those big guys, big conservative voices, and and PragerU. And I was like, oh, these guys are really smart. I really like them. And I just kind of, did more researching. I bought Milo Yiannopoulos' book. Bought a couple, I don't know, I bought one Trump book. It was The Art of the Deal. I just thought that was cool because
Mhm.
I was a big fan of him. And I thought, he's a pretty smart guy. He's a very wealthy man. He knows how to work hard, knows how to work the business. And I kind of like looked up to him and stuff. And I was like, I like this. And then kind of more getting towards into the conservative group. This is all kind of in between my junior and senior year of high school. So it's in that time frame. And sorry, my mouth's really dry. And it's sorry that I keep talking, going and going. But sorry about that. But and then just kind of looking at all those guys and just doing more research and just looking and getting along with all the conservative group. But one problem I had, and this was just me being a stupid kid, I thought the memes that they post, I've always noticed this. I mean, this stuff happens to every political group, all of them. They just keep, after one guy shares one meme, it just goes one after the other, and it just goes everywhere. It goes viral like crazy. But the conservatives did that, and I was like, that's kind of annoying. I see this meme like every 5 seconds with the same boom text and everything, and how stupid the liberals are. It's like, all right, well, whatever. They have cringy memes, but I'll just keep looking at mine. Um, Anyways, oh, that's the guy who's debating me about how anarchism's a lot better than minarchism. He's just spamming my phone.
Oh,
Um, Sorry. Um, and then kind of later on in the line, sorry. Then after like realizing like, oh man, their memes are kind of stupid and not really funny to me. I don't know. I didn't find them super funny, but they kind of made a good point. I mean, this is even with libertarians comedy. It's like, oh, I get the point, but I don't know. They're trying to be funny, but I just didn't. I don't know. I don't find political memes super funny, but sometimes they can. But anyways, the memes kind of bug me in this conservative group, but that didn't really change my views or anything like that. Um, and then for a long time, everything just kind of stayed the same. Not a whole lot changed. I got into like history. I really enjoyed Civil War history. I just kind of focused on that more than politics for like a good couple months. I started collecting history and reading books and a bunch of stuff like that, kind of towards the beginning of my senior year. Um, and then after that, still conservative. And then kind of like, I think about a year ago, this is kind of when things started to change like drastically. And I may have overreacted a little bit. I'll be honest. I may have overreacted just a little bit. But when I first heard like when Trump banned the bump stop, I was like, wait a minute, hold on, that's not cool. And then I used to be in I guess you could say like a conservative admin group where you have like, just your group of friends in a group chat and you just kind of talk about whatever. And I kind of started asking like individual like political accounts. This one guy, I won't give out his name, just to be nice, but he's a nice guy. He's another member of my my church and stuff like that. He's nice and all, but I asked him like, "Yo, how do you think about this bump stock ban?" And he was like, "Well, you don't need those anyways." It's like, well, I mean, well, he kept saying how garbage they were. It's like, okay, well, sure, you may have your opinion whether it's the piece of garbage equipment and it's not very useful and it's not good. Well, I mean, that's your opinion. I mean, you can have your own preferences on guns and stuff, but then the problem was like, well, Trump just enforced gun control. Did you realize that? And then he started calling me a kindergartner and just a whiny liberal snowflake. And I was like, all right, well, this guy's just dumb. And I started asking more. And then they just kept giving me the same thing. Like, oh, you're just a whiny snowflake. Get over it. I mean, not every conservative's like this. I'm not like generalizing them. There's a lot that were very against it and, stuff like that. But the people that I still argue with them today, and I just think they're ridiculous. Like you're just a liberal snowflake, and then I was like, all right, whatever. I'll start looking into libertarianism just for the fun of it. I mean, I've kind of always been super libertarian on guns, like for sure. Gun rights are my thing. I'm a huge gun lover, gun rights guy, and stuff like that. That's just something I really care about the most out of anything. Um, and then again, they always called me a liberal snowflake, and I looked into libertarianism, and then at first my views were still kind of the same. Then I kind of looked into it, and then a lot of libertarians. I was looking into like I guess ANCAPs and just kind of in that kind of section, the ANCAP side and libertarianism, and they were all like against like police and the military and kind of radical, want to like blow up the government buildings. I was like, whoa, wait, hold on, this is a little violent. And then I met this one guy named Nate. He's a good guy, and he kind of changed my mind. We're good friends. At first, I was like, wait, I don't want to, blow up military and kill cops or anything like that. And of course, I still don't want to do that or anything like that. I don't want anybody dead or anything like that. And they were like, I hate this country. this government sucks and stuff like that. I was like, oh, well, those guys aren't very cool. And I mean, I did agree with them on some things, like, gun rights and freedom of speech, and just kind of the more basic kind of things. And then kind of over the time, I started to realize that conservatives, like the more modern ones, like now, kind of like the big ones, like Charlie Kirk and the Turning Point USA, Too Savage for Democrats, all those kind of like bigger conservative pages are, I would say, honestly, about the same as like the liberal pages and Young Turks. And I started to realize that, like, PragerU is just like the Young Turks, but just towards the right. They use identity politics. Sorry, excuse me, identity politics, the same as the left does. I was just starting to realize, like, these guys are like the same thing. There's literally no difference in them between, like, the only difference is about how they spend money. And I started to realize that. And then kind of later on, I just kind of stopped for a second because, I don't know, it was just bugging me. Sometimes when I get too into like politics or anything like that, or I argue too much, it drives me nuts, and I just can't handle it anymore. So I need to have my breaks sometimes. Um, yeah. And then I kind of took a break for a while. And then after that, I got back into it, then started reading more on libertarianism and started to get to their more views on their sides. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, now I'm understanding why they don't like the police, because they enforce things like drug control and gun control, taxes and all stuff like that. And then I started to realize, like, wow, the conservative movement's kind of lost its way, I think, or maybe I left it or it left me or something like that. I'm not sure. One of the two. I just kind of stopped. I changed and realized, like, this isn't for me. And I went over to the libertarian side. And so at the moment, I'm just kind of like in that libertarian kind of group now, instead of the conservative side of things.
All right. So last question, then I'll let you go.
Uh-huh.
But you mentioned how like PragerU and them and like Charlie Kirk, whatever, they use a lot of identity politics. Like I see it. I guess maybe I could be blind to it because I'm a conservative. But like, in what ways do you think they use like more of the identity politics?
Okay. I mean, I saw this example today. Do you know Rob Smith? I think he's with Turning
Mhm.
Point. I know he's like, he's
So
a kind
yeah,
of a
yeah,
big.
he's African American.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think yeah, ex-military.
Yeah, it's him, and he's gay.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Uh-huh. Yeah, I know you're talking
Yeah,
about.
and he had a quote on his on one of the Turning Point USA things. It's like, oh, well, I don't know the exact quote, so my bad, but something along the lines of like, oh, using identity politics is for the left, don't use them. And then you see in his bio, like, black, gay, conservative, ex-military, and then he kind of uses that as, that's his identity, and he uses that towards his political career.
Okay, I see what you're saying. 'Cause I guess my whole when I think of identity politics, I guess like okay, let me ask it. When you talk about identity, what do you mean by identity politics? I think that could be where we might differ. Like, what do you mean when you say identity politics?
So like what I mean is, like, let's say for the left, they use, trans, gay, cat lover. I don't know, something really weird like that towards, like, that's my political affiliation. That's what makes me, or sorry, let me rephrase that. These things that are, physically about me, is what makes my views. Me being this certain race makes me view this way. I think both conservatives and liberals, or neo-liberals and neoconservatives, whatever you want to call them, kind of use that in that kind of sense. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like the label, like I'm going to use my label to push my political point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Um, is that because I guess when I think identity politics, I think of like they use their identity to push their political point. Like
Hmm.
because I am like most African Americans in our country are Democrat, and so like blacks need to be Democrat, right? So if you're black, you need to be a Democrat. So like your identity, and so I need to push that because I'm black. I need to push Democratic, you know. So that's
Yeah,
how I kind of always took that. And so like, because I don't, I mean, I like Prager University. I like Ben Shapiro. Not a big fan of Milo though. I think
yeah.
he's a little too far. He's more like an alt-right guy in my opinion.
What
Um,
defines the alt-right? I have no idea. Is that like I'm not sure.
no, that's a good question. I think the alt-right is I guess it could be, it could deal a lot with, it could deal a lot with racism, but I think a lot of it has to do with more about authoritarianism.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I would
no,
say that's probably more how I define the all right, more of an like the government as an like a conservative authoritarian, right? And so that's where I think the right has actually gone in a lot of ways. In my opinion, I
yeah,
think a lot of the right is, and that's what I was thinking you were going to say, more like they've been further towards the authoritarian perspective than typically what they used to be.
yeah.
Because I
That's
always
what
thought
I probably should have
conservatives,
said.
yeah, but no, I mean, I think what you're saying makes sense. I can see why we can make that felt the same way being on Instagram. That's how I actually started my Make America Civil Again thing. Is notice that the left and right we do the same things all the time. Like
Yeah,
and I would do the same thing the left was doing, but I didn't catch it until I started following the left. So I started reading their stuff and looking at them. I was like, oh my, like them, like why are you name calling? Like why are you calling me all these things? I was like, oh wait, like the people on the right do that to people on the left, you know, and like we don't
yeah.
talk and we just like whine about each other and complain about each other, but there's no conversation, you know. But and so yeah, no, I see what you're saying though. I can definitely see that as an issue that the right has. I guess I just wanted to get that defined. But
Hmm.
before we go, let me ask you one more question. I know I said it before, but I want to get your take on the 2020 election. So two questions. One is who do you think is going to win the nominee for the Democrats? But who do you think is going to win the overall like presidency for the
Hmm.
next 4 years after the first 4 years of Trump?
Yeah. Okay. The first one with the Democratic. I think I don't know. I mean, I think who has got the best chance is kind of a hard one. Out of the top three, I'd probably say Warren.
All
I
right, who
think
are your
she.
top three?
Oh, who the top three? I'd definitely say the Biden, Bernie, and then Warren are the top three who have the best chances at the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Okay. And so you say Warren would.
I think she might be the candidate or the nominee for the Democratic Party. And I would personally think a good fight. I don't think she'd win, but Tulsi Gabbard, I agree with her on some things, but like with like foreign policy, but and free speech, but that's about it. Um,
Yeah.
but that's the most like that's about the only Democrat I really like, but not enough for me to vote for her. She's not
Yeah.
insane. At least I don't think she's the most insane Democrat out there, but I don't agree with a lot of what she says, you know. Um, but to your other question, I still think Trump might still have a good chance to win. I'm not saying it might be really hard for him to win for sure because Democrats are corrupt, but I mean both parties are corrupt, but I think Trump has the best chance to win. I think he's going to get 2020 for sure because his backing it's huge. He's got really high approval ratings and all stuff like that. Like in the economy's well. I mean, I don't know if I'm still having a hard time if I want to vote for him or not. I think he's still a little bit of a too much of an authoritarian kind of status kind of guy. But I mean, he's done a lot of good, but he's also done a lot of things that made me really upset and turn, like with all the gun control things he said, and banning bump
Yeah.
stocks. But last thing I read on that, I guess it didn't go through. I'm not sure, or it didn't, or it expired or something like that. But whatever.
Oh yeah.
Um, I still think he has the best chance of winning. And then after that, after Trump is done being president, I'm not sure what's going to happen after that.
Yeah. No, I just read something the other, like, was it today or yesterday or something? Maybe it was yesterday or today. But they mentioned his son running,
Oh, which one?
Donald Trump Jr., not Eric. Eric doesn't
Uh-huh.
seem to be in the news nearly as much. But yeah, they're saying Donald Trump Jr. would run, which I'm thinking like, no, I don't think so. But who knows? Who knows? I
Yeah,
don't
who
know.
knows? I mean, you don't
At
want it
this
to be like
point,
one of the, you don't want it to be like a Bush kind of thing, you know?
yeah, just yeah, exactly like the dynasty type of stuff.
Yeah, you don't
Um,
want like the same kind of family bloodline. You don't want like the same Clinton kind of thing or the same Bush or,
exactly.
it's kind of a bad ordeal. It always ends up
Yeah,
not being
yeah,
going very well.
yeah. But hey, Cody, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. I appreciate you wanting to interview me.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I'll let you know when the video goes up. And if you know anybody, tell them to watch and tell them to subscribe. But just want to say thank you to everyone who watched this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as well. And maybe I'll get you here again, and maybe we could talk more conservative, find somewhere. Maybe we have a little more attention on an issue.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, Cody, thanks. But good night, and everyone, thank you so much for tuning in.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. See ya.